Okay, so let's begin.
Don't you worry, I'm fine and I got nobody to blame.
Like Goofy, he had a nice personality, but you could tell that people really didn't fuck with him, you know? He was an older guy. I didn't know the age at the time. I was 18. But he offered to take us home, and she knew him. And he took us home, and then, he asked, because he knew my cousins as well, how did I like the city, and can he take me out on a date? I'm like, sure, and my god cousin should tell me, like, you might not want to really mess with him like that. It's okay to go out on a date, get a nice time with someone, but to really get involved with this guy is probably a bad idea. This one in particular one was just really persistent. He was always wanting to be around me, always wanting to talk to me. And to be honest, he was the one that showed the most initiative. So I therefore gave him majority of my time. One day, he had an ex-girlfriend that used to stay on the block where we used to hang out. And I remember, like, she was taking him somewhere, whether it's to the store, it didn't matter to me. The fact of it was that he was in a damn car, and I didn't like it. He didn't tell me anything. I just seen him passing in front of my friends, and I didn't like that shit. So when he got out the car and he approached me, I let him know that I didn't like it. So, we're gonna have to reconsider some things, because what you just did, you really embarrassed me. And I remember him laughing and telling me, like, basically, like, shut the fuck up, like, you're too jealous, blah blah. And I remember walking away from him, and he went to grab my arm, and I pushed him, like, to just get off me, like, like, let me go. And he slapped me in front of everyone. And he slapped me, and he stood there and, basically waited for me to get up. And I remember kind of like it was by an alleyway almost, and I remember like busting a bottle, and I'm like, I'm gonna fucking kill you. And people was holding him back, and they was telling me to go home. And I remember walking home, and I was crying, I was upset, and I was done. Like, you're not gonna fucking embarrass me. We're over. And he kept calling calling my grandmother's phone. He kept calling my phone, and my grandmother, like, we got to do something about this. And he would come by the house, like, just, I didn't want to be bothered. And then finally I had to speak to him because he wouldn't stop, and I didn't want to call the police on him. Somewhere along the line of us dating, I ended up pregnant, and it was the end of my school year. But I don't want anyone to know, because in my mind I probably thought that maybe I could be pregnant, but I'm like, no, it can't be. Anyway, I went to the urgent care, and it confirmed that I was pregnant. I was happy but terrified. I was happy because now I have someone to love. I was terrified because I didn't want anyone to know. So an abortion was off the table for me. So I remember telling him, I was pregnant, and he took it in. He said, okay. He has a 12 age advantage over me. And I'm thinking to myself, like, well, I'm dating someone who's actually 30 years old, but I can handle this, no problem. One day, I remember water just leaking. Not so much as a bag bursting, but just leakage. And I asked my grandfather to take me to the emergency room because I wasn't feeling well. And the lady told me that my membrane plug was about to erupt, and that I need to take it easy and just do bed rest. Again, I was afraid to tell my family that I was pregnant. So I did take it easy, but I was still active. I did stop smoking and drinking at that particular time. I want to say maybe 2 nights later, I felt like I had really, 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 really bad cramps. And I thought that maybe I needed to make a bowel movement. So I go into the bathroom and I remember pushing, but I felt something move, but it wasn't coming out of my, my anus. And I was like, okay, what the hell is this? So I went to wipe. And when I wiped, I felt something very plastic, and I jumped back, and now I'm calling my grandmother to come into the bathroom. And she was like, what is the problem? Like, I don't want to go in there. And she think I'm playing a prank on her. I'm like, no, I need you to come in here. It's urgent. And I said, look, look, look. And she looks and she goes, oh my God. And I said, what is it? What does it look like? And she goes, oh my God, they look like feet. I had to deliver the baby. And I remember the doctor, when I got there, he opened my legs and he was like, the baby's halfway out and you're going to have to push. And I remember it took me a while to push, but I ended up pushing. And I did ask, what does the sex of the child looks like? And he said, look like it's a female. After that was the most horrific experience in the hospital. At this time, with him showering me with money, he did tell me, you're in college, you're in school, but I think it's time that you have some sense of independence. And he told me to go get a job. And I put applications in everywhere, but I ended up landing a job at a pharmacy. Whatever he was doing in the street, it wasn't working, or the money was depleting. And I remember he kept asking me every 2 weeks or every week I would get paid, hey, to kind of give him some money. And I said, hey, I only get paid a couple of $100s. I'm got this going, I have this going. And he would always just say, I'll give it back to you, which he did. But it was consistent. It was like every week. And we got into an argument about that one day. And I remember waking up in the bed next to him, and he just punched me. And when he punched me, he covered my mouth and he was punching me in my stomach. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And I remember crying, and I remember telling my friend, I didn't want to tell my cousins because I'm like, they're gonna fucking kill him. And honestly thought that I really loved him. And I'm like, I don't want to see him die, but I don't want to hurt either. But when I did try to separate myself from him, there he go with calling the house, calling my phone, or going to my job, which was the most embarrassing thing, telling me basically like, I'm calling you and you're not picking up. Or he found the number to my job and kept calling her constantly. Like, I'll hang up and say, I'm gonna call you back, and call her back. So it was things like I had to deal with him. I ended up getting pregnant from him again, but this time I made sure I told everyone. I was 19 and I told everyone, my family, I'm pregnant, I need your support. And I remember my grandmother saying, like, this is, basically your decision that you have to make, but of course we'll support you. That pregnancy was the worst pregnancy. There was numerous of times where he would just hit me, and I would have bruises like on my body that I would try to hide from people. So much stress, going to work, dealing with him. The family hated him, so I'm in between of going in between of my family and trying to be supportive to him, be supportive to my family at the same time. Everyone was turning their backs on me, and I felt like I just had nowhere to turn. We decided to just leave Chicago and go to Alabama and just start over with his family. With his aunt that was very well to do decided to take us in. She knew that I was 8.5 months pregnant at the time, and that she was willing to help us. That did not go well. I think we ended up staying there for a week, and I said, I'm not going back to Chicago. So I decided to call my family in Florida and to come to Florida. Now, the only person that probably had like any type of availability for me to live with them was my older sister. And she agreed to take us in with her kids. And we slept in the living room in this awful dream one night about a snake and a mouse, but in a fish tank. And it was a white mouse. And I remember the snake ended up eating the white mouse. And then I would try to pull the snake apart, but the mouse was already gone. The next morning, I didn't feel my child move. And I remember taking a shower and I went to shake my belly to try to wake him up, but he wouldn't move. And they said, okay, you don't feel the baby move, it's time to do an ultrasound. As soon as she put it to my son's heart, it was not beating. And I noticed that she tried not to make any facial recognition. She kind of went like other parts of the body, but I knew she kept going back to the heart and the baby was not moving, but I knew that. I didn't say anything, but I knew it. And I was thinking to myself of, I'm alone, although I'm around family. No one really understands my story. And then I have this fucking maniac I can't get rid of. And I don't know, it felt like my soul just kind of like left my body, and my body was just there to deal with whatever physical aspects that was going on. Hospital was probably one of the worst experiences. And it has nothing to do with my nurse, it had nothing to do with the doctor and the staff. It was just hard. I remember they said that I must deliver the baby. They didn't want to do a C-section. And she gave me something. She gave me something to help relax me. It was a medication through the IV. And it was so I don't have to suffer. When I was about 9 to 10 centimeters, I woke up. And when I woke up, I was kind of in of it, I was out of it. The pain was surreal. Oh my God, the pain was so unbearable, but it was too late for them to give me any type of epidural. Who delivered my child was Asian. And I remember him telling me to push. It was like it was all happening like so fast. Telling me to push. And I said fine. And the next morning it was over. I had a flat stomach again with stretch marks. And nothing to show for the stretch marks. Planning a funeral for a newborn or a stillborn is very difficult, but I was so over everything. I was just fucking over it. I'm over him, I'm over everybody. We decided that we was probably gonna maybe make our way back up to another state, in the process of us trying to do the funeral. And his aunt kept calling the fucking phone. And I remember my sister going, who the fuck keep calling the phone? And me and her got into an argument. And it was the day before my son's funeral. The day before. And it was about a fucking phone call. Anyway, she ended up saying, get your shit, get out. That sticks with me. Notice I say stick with me for the rest of my days. You kick me out when I have nothing, nowhere to go, really. A day before my son's funeral over a fucking phone call. We ended up going to my other sister's house with her husband and her kids, or her fiance at the time and her kids. Back at it again. The funeral was the next day, and I didn't want to preach or anything. The casket was so little, it was blue, and it had like, it was like a blue, sky blue marble. When I buried my son, I couldn't cry. I couldn't cry at the funeral. I couldn't cry. I couldn't cry. I had no one. I have nothing. When I say I have no one, I know you say you put your sisters in. You don't want to tell everyone how you feel, because people sometimes use that shit against you, and you're embarrassed. You buried my son. I remember like maybe a few nights later, it was storming, raining, and I was quiet, and I was sitting on the couch, and my then boyfriend goes, "Why you just keep staring out the window? Like, what's wrong with you?" And I say, "It's raining." And he was like, "Yeah, it's raining. I'm glad you see that." And I said, my son has like no blanket or nothing on him, and it's raining outside. And he didn't say anything. In my mind, I legit thought like my son is in a hole 6 feet under, and he has nothing to protect him from the rain and the storm. That was my mind set, gone.